Section 6.3 is converting decimals to percents and percents to decimals. There's no new vocabulary here. So the process is really fairly straightforward. To convert a decimal to a percent, we move the decimal 2 spots to the right. Add the percent sign. Okay, so 0.47 becomes 47%, because the decimal's at the end. We don't necessarily have to write it. Number 2, and move it 2 spots. 1, 2, add percent sign. It becomes 83%. Okay, rules don't change. 2, 8%. We don't need to put the 0 in front. We don't write it like that. Now number 9 I chose because it's kind of interesting. There is no decimal. It's an assumed decimal. But in order to move this, we have to put it back in. Remember, the decimal at the end of whole numbers is at the end, so it's right there. And then I need to move it over 2 spots to the right. 1, 2. So now we have to fill in these spots that we created with zeros to hold their space, their value. So this becomes 19,000%. So whole numbers get the decimal at the end, move it over 2. Number 13, again, we're going to move it over 2. 1, 2. Okay, we're moving it from in front of the 9 to behind the 5, so we would have 95.2%. Again, just 2. 1, 2. 7.31%. You can see the pattern here. The numbers get a little more strange. No different. Rules are not going to change. 1, 2. So now we have 0.471%. Just moving it over 2 spots to the right to convert a decimal to a percent. 1, 2, 61.609%. So if we moved it 2 spots to the right to create a percent from a decimal to change a percent, or excuse me, to a decimal to a percent, to change it back from a percent to a decimal, we move 2 spots to the left. So the decimal is assumed at the end. We're going to move it 1, 2, and we drop the percent. So this becomes 0.96, because the decimal was at the end. It wasn't written, it was assumed back there. So we put it back in order to move it. So we have 47%. We're going to change it to a decimal. We have to add the decimal back in before we can move it. 1, 2. So this becomes 0.47, period. Okay. What if we have to add a spot? So if, again, our rule is when we're changing a percent to a decimal, we're moving it 1, 2. All right. Going to have to fill that in. As we moved it a spot, we have to fill in with a 0 for the digit there. So this becomes 0.0135, and we drop the percent. Okay, so 1, 2 to the left, fill in if we need to. 45, same type of deal. 1, 2. There's nothing there. I have to fill it in. So we have 0.00071. Well, what if we have a fraction percent? This requires 2 steps. All right. First thing we have to do is change it to a decimal. So we have 2 steps, remember, 2 steps. First one, we're going to change it. So 1/2, so top divided by the bottom, is going to give us 0.5, but it's still a percent. So all we did was change the fraction to a decimal, but we haven't moved it yet. Okay, so then our second step, then I'm going to change colors here so it's emphasized. It's the second step. Now I move it over 2, and I have to fill these in. So it becomes 0.005. So first step is to convert the fraction to a decimal, where we had the 0.5, but it was still a percent, and then the moving of it changes the percent to a decimal. Number 56 is the same way. I have 7/10 as a percent. So if I write that 7/10 as a decimal, it is 0.7, but it is still a percent. I just simply changed the fraction to a decimal. Now I need to move it. If I'm changing it from a percent to a decimal and moving it over here, by 2 spots becomes 007, and I drop the percent sign. So in review, if I'm changing decimals to percent, I move 2 spots to the right. If I'm changing percents to decimals, it is 2 spots to the left. Good luck with your homework.